Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's NAA iSeries webinar. I am Erin Ships, Director of Marketing and Communications for the National Auctioneers Association, and I would like to thank you for joining us for today's iSeries about online platforms for every auction business. Through iSeries, the NAA shares free auction industry insights. As the world's largest association dedicated to auction professionals, the NAA educates and represents the interests of thousands of auction professionals worldwide. During our virtual conference and show, today's panel presented an informative session on their very different uses of online platforms, moderated by NAA CEO Hannes Combest. This topic was so popular, we decided to extend the conversation into today's iSeries, so more questions could be asked. Today, we will play part of that session, and the panelists are here to not only answer your questions at the end of the presentation, but during it as well. Today's session will be presented by David Bradshaw, Darron Meares, and Scott Miedema. David Bradshaw is a former banker who understands personalized professional service. Now president of Transon Driggers, David has been involved in the sale of more than 1,800 properties since he joined the team in 2011. He is experienced in the sale of commercial, multifamily developments, acreage, residential, and special use real estate such as RV parks and self-storage facilities. Licensed in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Indiana, and Florida, Darron Meares is also a licensed South Carolina real estate broker in charge. Darron manages and conducts real estate auctions as well as business and bankruptcy liquidations as Chief Operating Officer of Meares Property Advisors. He is a past director on the NAA board and a past chairman of the NAA Education Institute. During their presentation, you may take part in the conversation by submitting your questions in the chat box. As I said, the presenters will be available during the presentation, and they will come on screen afterwards to further answer your questions. After that, we will also ask you to please take part in a very short poll. With that, I will hand it over to Hannes and our panel.
My name is Hannes Combest, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of the National Auctioneers Association. And I've been asked to moderate this very esteemed panel that I have here today. I'm very excited about this. We're going to get started now. We have generated a list of questions between these group of panelists. And Darron, I'm going to start with you, please. You use, as I understand, a portal type of auction platform. Why did you decide to go with this established auction portal platform over some kind of white label or custom platform?
Well, to begin with, I chose to stay as an auctioneer and not have to worry about the internet side of our business. I wanted something that could reduce the amount of time, money, and staffing that it would take for us to either create one or to manage the additional time that it would take to have a white label type application. The portal gave us, back in 2005 when we first started doing online auctions, it gave us a way to concentrate on our business and just let the internet run for our live auctions back then, and then virtual and timed auctions as time moved on.
Okay, perfect. And so as you have developed your business, have you seen a transition or a need for a transition to another type of platform?
So far, no. We are with a platform that they invest a lot of money into research and development so that we don't have to. The advertising aspect is there so that we don't have to invest the extra time and effort in that. So far, we have not had to move from that platform.
Okay. Now, Scott, I understand that Miedema, however, has invested some money into developing their own customized solution. So can you talk to us a little bit about why you made that decision and what prompted you to invest funds into developing your own solution?
Well, some money is being generous. When we started in the year 2000, there really weren't many platforms that I was aware of. And we wanted to do online auctions. My brother and I were talking one day, my brother Sid, about eBay. And they started in, I think, 95-ish, somewhere in there. and about how auctioneers were so threatened by it. And I just simply said, if it's such a threat and such a powerful thing, why don't we think about doing it? So that's what we did. We went out and started small scale. We went from a monthly online auction to bi-weekly and then weekly. And soon within a few months, we had to sell our facility and buy a whole new complex. And the rest is history, kind of as they say. So it's been really good for us. Since that time, we've had opportunities to switch and change, but we really like the platform that we have and what we've developed. We're doing hundreds of auctions annually online. We have over 500, I think it's 550,000 registered bidders that have registered on our site and probably sell 3,000 to 4,000 items a week. So for us having our own site, it just gives us a lot of control and allows us to do what we want to do. We started with one online auction company and we kind of morphed it into 6 different auction services right now that sell everything from 10,000 vehicles to another site sells like 8,000 guns. We've kind of private labeled each our own gun within our custom portal, and another one does real estate only. So it's just really has worked out well for us, largely because of the volume, and it's just been something that we've decided to stick with.
Okay, thank you. David, and you have yet a third option. As I understand it, you have been very instrumental in leading Transon's group from one different portal to a white label solution. Can you talk about why you decided to go that route and what were some of the factors in terms of making that decision that you felt was best for Transon?
Sure. Well, and that's, again, overly kind for me. I would tell you, people that are much smarter than I am within our company, as we've had these conversations, have given great input that we just personally, well, corporately, we do not want to be in the technology business. It's a core competency, but we don't want to be focused on that day to day with trying to figure out the next great thing in terms of executing an auction platform. And so, you know, that's fundamental to why we have the solution we have. And I really like the fact, by the way, that in this description, this all ties back to business strategy, or to, I forgot the language you guys used, but essentially, I mean, to me, it depends on what your business plan says, is whether you get into the technology side of the business or not. And so at the end of the day, we decided we don't want to be focused on that day to day. We're kind of like Darron. We want to go focus on sales. We want to go focus on other elements. And so what we've created currently, I'll set the table there, is a bit of a plug and play platform, in the sense that we're powered by a white label product at the moment. And if there was ever a revolution of white label platforms, we could, in theory, unplug one and plug in another. That's a gross oversimplification, but essentially we have our own proprietary back office and platform, and then we're powered by a white label. With that being said, and by the way, that's an integration, but I think the white label basket includes anything from integration to off the shelf, put your logo on it and go execute auctions. And so we picked the integration side of the white label, but we picked the white label platform because we believe it gives us better control than a portal does, and keeps us out of the weeds of worrying about the technology side of it. It's sort of the belief system that led us to that solution.
David, let's stick with you for just a minute, because you're talking about how this kind of decision really integrates with your business strategy. And so when you're making these kinds of decisions, what elements of your business strategy correspond to the decisions made on being able to choose which online platform you really want to use? Can you talk a little bit about that and about what you looked for in a white label platform?
Sure. Yes, ma'am. So on the business strategy side, I think if you're, and Scott can tell us better than that, but I think if you were to say, okay, let's build a platform tomorrow, for instance, it's going to take a different focus and financial engagement than a white label, for instance. And so I guess I should work from the other angle. You know, by us choosing to use a white label, to be powered by a white label product for our platform, it enables us to focus on other things and sort of make that a line item that we set it and move it out of the way and keep rolling to things that we believe are more important, like, sales or growth or whatever the case may be. And I think that's the way it ties into the business strategy. However, there may be a particular strategy in someone's business plan that is to build a platform and then go ship it to every company in the country and grab users in the course of that, and ultimately have an auction company. Because I think it all fits back to where you're trying to go and what you're trying to accomplish. And so for us, we're focused on just doing auctions for clients, and we just made that decision that wasn't what we wanted to do, was focus on the technology, that deep of the technology side. What led us to our current solution, we wanted something more custom than an off-the-shelf, just put our logo on it and just keep going down the road and sell real estate. But we did not, again, want to be so entrenched into one technology. And so that's what led us to the integration that we currently have, which, again, we worked hard with a vendor that we're very fond of to build out something that's sort of in the middle there in terms of white label. And just so everyone's clear, when we say white label, we mean some of the products that are out there that you literally could be set up in a day, potentially. I might be exaggerating that, but really the solution is already sitting there waiting for you to sign up and put your name on it and go ship auctions and go do business.
Mm-hmm. Now that is significantly different, Scott, than what you and Sid did. So many years ago, back in the 90s, you said, we're gonna start this on our own. We're gonna look at something that we can develop. Tell us why you've stayed in that path, at continuously, putting money into a customized solution.
Well, I've asked myself that question a few times already. And the biggest thing is the dollars, the type of volume that we're doing about, I think last year we did about 80 million online sales. So that kind of volume, if you have to pay a few percent, it doesn't take hard to figure out that's a few $1 million, a couple $1 million. So for us, it's been beneficial there, but probably even more so than that has been the control that we have had. We were able to get the type of reports we want. We're able to make the type of changes we want. For our real estate, we can design a little different platform than what we have. And in talking about the commitment to IT, those guys are 100% right. It is a big commitment to IT, and we have a separate IT department that we fund that works. And then we also offer our almost kind of a white label solution. Interestingly enough, not many auctioneers use it. We don't promote it, push it. We have some other people that use our platform, and that also helps contribute to some of our IT expenses and that. So most of those people are actually former clients of ours that probably would have gone off and got their own system, their own thing, and they decided to stay under our umbrella, as you would have it, to work with us. So from that end of it, it's been good. And I don't know, it's just, we feel like it's been a worthwhile investment. Even though it is very costly, it's very difficult at times. There's times you wish you never did it, but there's more times that you're very glad you did it. And I think, especially on the bottom line, is where we really appreciate it.
Outstanding. Well, thank you. Darron, you've gone a totally different route. You have decided to keep your business within a portal situation. And what are the advantages that you see that a portal offers you that perhaps a white label or certainly customization would preclude you from moving into those two arenas?
Sure. It's like Scott says, it does depend on the bottom line. There's no doubt about it. And we have, I would say we've got less headaches. We don't have to have an IT department that is having to manage. We don't have to worry about, some of those aspects, because with business decisions, I look at the expense side of time, money, and staffing. And, we don't have to have that additional staff. People can concentrate on their jobs. We don't have to bring in someone specifically for that. So it's less time and money on us to expend on staff. We also have a little less advertising cost. We don't have to draw people to our our own platform or our own white label platform, we're using the aggregate from the platform. That way we can go back and sort of ride the wave of other auctioneers that are using that and bringing bidders to the actual space of the platform.
So when you say aggregate, you're talking aggregate bidders?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's been, you were talking earlier about, there's a lot of discussion around which of these three methods that you would use. One of the arguments comes from, I don't want to share bidders. I don't want so-and-so to have my bidders. I don't want this. I don't want that. My thing is, if, Scott's got a 1911 that somebody's outbid on, a Colt 1911 pistol, I want them to be able to come to my auction that's on the same platform and say, hey, I missed this one. I can come over here. So we've got bidders from a bunch of different companies coming together and sharing that advertising weight. I've always been the one that I don't mind sharing bidders because we're all selling similar product. And if we can sell it to that bidder, great. If someone else has a better deal or, a different timing of their auction, they may win out on that one. But the main advantages that we look at is that time, money, and staffing that we don't have to spend to keep an IT department or a software manager moving.
Okay. What is your response there, David and Sid, and I'm sorry, Scott, sorry about that, about sharing the aggregate bidders? What do you, David, for you, how did that play into a decision for you?
So it's funny because I think this is a great, we've kind of got, I'm kind of in the middle and you've got the other sort of extremes on the other side. And so we really fit in the middle in that sense. We share amongst the Transon family, we share bidders. So we're sharing at a little bit higher level than just keeping them in-house. But at the end of the day, yeah, other firms aren't remarketing to our bidders. And I think that, I don't know how conscious we are to that other than from a privacy perspective, the terms of our website, et cetera. We just wanted to have people focused on our company as they come to the website. So yeah, we haven't dwelled on that point. And I do see the upside to Darren's point clearly with that. But yeah, we're focused on really trying to figure out what people are interested in and then keep providing those opportunities to them to try to get them to bid. But again, we're a closed ecosystem for Transon where we're sharing bidders amongst the Transon companies around the country, but we're not going outside that from a standpoint of using other companies' bidders the way a portal would.
And a white label allowed you to do that, to define who your audience was, who your partners were going to be?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I'm sure there's a much bigger conversation somewhere about it, but I don't know, there's probably a philosophical point out there somewhere about whether we care that platforms are building, gigantic user databases and what happens tomorrow with those, but I don't know, I don't know what that looks like, but it's interesting.
Okay. Scott, that had to have been a conversation you and Sid had years ago. When you were looking at the outlay of the kind of money that it would take to build a customized feature, in terms of using aggregate bidders and using that data, you had to build your own from the ground up. How did you do that, and why did you decide that was an appropriate way for you to handle your business strategy?
Again, at the time we started, there really weren't many options. So since that could we have, and since that have other people have come and offered us some pretty good deals to join their platforms, to join their white label, simply because of the volume, that we're doing. We really, really value the fact that we have our own bidders, that we can control them as far as the data, we can control the data, and we have access to them. And we put a lot of money into advertising and marketing over the years. And I know anybody that follows Facebook has seen this debate rage on, probably last year more so than this year. And in every good thing, there's disadvantages and advantages to it. there's the advantage. I've used proxy bid, and I do occasionally use proxy bid as an example of just a portal. And you know, in the other companies, I've used other ones also. There are times that there is an advantage to do it for us even, but most of the time for us to have our own buyers, to have our own data, to have our own controls has been great. And we know that in the future, where this data is going to be, it's going to be in our possession, and that we will have it, and then we can use it how we want to use it, in any manner that we want to use it, of course, within reasonable parameters of, you know, respecting your customers.
Okay, that is the end of our presentation. Thank you to everyone who asked questions during the presentation. Now I am inviting our panelists to come face to face to have a conversation with us. So welcome, Darron.
Hey, I had to change my clothes really quick.
Darron is at the beach.
Yeah.
So I think we kept up pretty well with the questions that were in the chat. A couple of people were asking about what kinds of data do you track? And I guess with the different methods that you have, what are some things that you're looking at tracking?
I was actually answering Doug's question when we swapped over. So I tell you what, I will, if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and jump in and finish what I was typing to him. Does that work?
Go ahead.
All right.
Sure.
Doug asked, in your reports that are generated, what the most important piece of information? My big, we look at year-to-date data, we look at revenue, things like that. The only problem is everybody on this call understands it from whatever asset group you sell or industry segment. You're not going to get the same asset every day. David's not going to get 15 of the same house to sell, or the same acreage in the same area, you know, those kind of things. I'm not going to get the same firearms from every single collector. What I do look at is the amount that we're selling assets. One of the things that we looked at, just because of everything that's going on in the world, last year we sold 13,000 lots of firearms, ammunition, and accessories. Already this year, year to date to yesterday, I believe, we had already exceeded that amount from what we sold last year. So definitely things like that we're looking at. But when we're tracking our data, we're looking at it more on the volume that we're selling, maybe not the revenue volume, but the volume we're selling. We're also looking on a per lot basis, and we have seen that per lot basis increase because of everything that's going on in the world right now.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I also was typing Doug at the same time. Apparently Darron was. So at the auction level, we monitor sort of engagement metrics. So we start with views, and then another step down of sort of the sales funnel would be property package downloads for us. And then the next level would more or less be bidders. So we try to keep an eye on that and stay focused on that during the campaigns. We also look at where people are coming from in terms of whether it's social or digital or print or wherever. And so we're trying to track the effectiveness of those marketing campaigns that are driving people to the site. I will share that it's important, and I think it goes hand in hand with what Darron just said. It's extremely tough, but I like to try to find metrics that are meaningful, that I can see the relative performance of that property related to other properties that we've sold. And I tend to dwell on property package downloads on that. I'm not sure that's the right number, but I try to find some science. I try to find some science as we're doing auctions, and try to find metrics that make sense, that I then can go, okay, well, this one, it seems to be underperforming. We need to juice up the marketing somewhere to drive some more traffic, or we've had great performance, and we sort of have an inclination of what sale day may look like. At the kind of non-auction level, at the company level, we do monitor, we do measure different performance metrics every month. Some of them we look at deeper than others, and so we do look at things like social media traffic or Google search traffic, SEO traffic. However, we also keep an eye on, we've been watching, for instance, mobile engagement over the years. We keep an eye on what the prototypical engagement looks like in terms of what that person, sort of the, I don't know if psychographics or demographics are the right word, but what the profile of that person is, so that we kind of know who's engaging with our site overall. So, so we look at some of those things as well. And then, like Darron said, we're also looking at sales related feedback, things like the number of properties we're selling, looking for different trends with clients, but also looking for sell-through rate and kind of the effectiveness of our campaigns, what our success rate is as we're going through different seller types or asset types.
Great, thank you both. So with 2020 being the crazy year that it has been, especially for auctioneers who do in-person events, we've seen a huge influx in people, auctioneers moving to online platforms just to stay in business. And so what would you say, if you're looking at going online for the first time, what do you look at in your business that tells you maybe what kind of platform or service you should be using or creating, or what are those factors?
Darron, you want me to start this one?
You go.
Okay. Okay. So I think you're pointing at me. Okay. Well, it's funny. So after listening to this, I realized that the portal approach means that you don't necessarily have to collect as much marketing money from a prospective client or from a client. And perhaps the white label, of course, is in the middle, and the build your own platform is probably heavily engaged, perhaps from that side. So I think I mentioned this on the video, I don't know if that part was played, but if I was starting today, just me, I think I would join Darron's team from a standpoint of I would start with a portal, because it sounds like the bidders are there, ready to roll, and I might not have to have the same engagement with clients in terms of trying to get money out of their hand to execute a sale. And so I think that would be, I think if you're a sole proprietor and don't want to focus on worries outside of sales, maybe that's the best first step. I can also tell you the white label products are fantastic. For instance, the vendor that we use, the partner that we use that we're powered by, their standard off-the-shelf product, I don't know how quick they could set it up, but I do know that you could have an app and you can have a website and all this stuff works together. And again, a pretty seamless experience without having to worry about the technology, letting someone else worry about that. So if that's, but then in our model, we collect marketing money. And so I think, that might be the approach once you're comfortable with that model in terms of the way you deal with clients, and once something perhaps a little bit more customized that people are bidding on your site, on your platform. And then of course, I think Scott's not here, but I think Scott's approach is a much heavier capital investment from day one if you intend to start a platform and then go sell auctions. And certainly there's a technology focus there that Darron's team and our team does not have to worry about nearly as much as what they encounter. I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, though, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. If I was running $47 to $50 million, I would probably want my own platform as well. Scott and Sid, I've known them over the years through the industrial auctioneers, and they have, they've gone through several iterations of this, and they've said, hey, we're going to develop an app and put money toward it. And then finally said, why do we need an app? We've got a mobile friendly site, things like that. If I was just starting out, I would probably, brand new, straight in, I would start with a platform. And, that's one of the advantages that our company has. We started in 72, and when we started with online bidding, we were one of the first 20 auction companies to use the platform that we use. And I've been on the auctioneer advisory board several times, and I've seen it evolve, and we just have been able to sit back and watch it. And I like the white label, don't get me wrong, because that's one of the things that, you want to skin that to your website. You want people to come to your website and to be there and all of that. That would definitely be my second choice. I just look at time, money, and staffing as my three drivers to any business decision that we make.
Great. And we're going to go a couple minutes over because I want to get in this last question, but thoughts on running multiple platforms at once? And I think that Scott said that he does sometimes use platforms for specific items. So any thoughts on that?
I don't see the point in it. I have called bids for several auction companies where I've contracted out. You know, we're looking at a wall of phone bidders on this side. We're looking at a platform over here and a platform over here. And then we've got our live bidders. If you're marketing everyone to your platform or to your website, or in Scott's case, to his conglomerate of websites that go to his platform, I don't think you need to, because now you're paying two different fees. You're having to invoice twice as much. You're having to reconcile twice as much. Start moving everyone to one platform. I've never really understood that part of it if you're doing your marketing correctly.
Yeah, and I'll just add, we sell real estate and quote unquote substantial assets, but largely we're real estate only. And so there have been times, I think, when in the past, when some of our members have gone to other platforms for a ready-made audience for something that's obscure, but we've largely had great success selling to our real estate people when there's an opportunity to buy something to invest in and try to retrade or use or whatever. With that being said, I think, again, outside of what I know, but the only sort of caution flag I would see is, from a branding perspective, I do like the idea of sticking with one, just so I can control the experience, and so people sort of have the same experience every time they engage with our website, and they're not transported off to another site that was different than last time, and those things. But aside from that, it probably is a good strategy at times to solve a problem. But again, back to Darren's point, it's like, if you have to spend a day thinking about it and trying to create that will, then that may be a lost opportunity to sell something. So I don't know, certainly efficiencies of sticking with one concept, I guess.
All right, well, I appreciate both of you being here. We're going to say bye to you, and we're going to finish out. We're going to ask for some feedback on today's session. We're going to share screen and launch a poll. So bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So now is the time for you to give us feedback on today's session. You will see a poll on your screen. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score and 1 being the lowest, how would you rate today's iSeries presentation? And on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being very likely and 1 being not at all, how likely are you to recommend iSeries to a friend? And then number 3, I would like to learn more about registering for on-demand virtual conference and show for more content like I've seen today. Awesome. Thank you all so much. If you answered yes to question 3, we will be following up with you, but you can also register for on-demand conference sessions through the end of August, and you can watch them through the end of the year. In addition, September 1st and 2nd is our virtual benefit auction summit, followed by the virtual workshop on virtual benefit galas on September 3rd. And October 19th through 20th is the virtual Train the Trainer course for anyone interested in becoming an instructor at NAA, or for those just interested in becoming a better presenter in general. You will receive a link to today's webinar emailed by the end of the week. Current NAA members can log in and access iSeries archives at auctioneers.org/iSeries. Your next iSeries webinar will be Wednesday, October 7th, 2020, and we will cover how to keep your entrepreneurial spirit going in 2020. Be sure to tell your friends. We will send specific information on that in the near future. Thank you again to David and Darren and to Scott for sharing your insight today, and thanks to all of you for taking part in NAA's iSeries. That concludes today's webinar. Have a great day.